I think for me what makes St. Timothy's such a special place, people here are so wonderfully faithful, and there's just a strong connection to the parish and the school, and the parish in so many ways really is kind of at the center of people's lives still. The town and much of the community revolves around the church and the school, and there's such a strong sense of support for the parish and the school. People are so generous and just so wonderful, very faithful, very devout, still take their faith very seriously. And again, those generations, like we're celebrating 100 years here, and families of many generations, and everyone is so well connected and cares for each other, and just, yeah, it's a special place.
As we celebrate 100 years with the Church of St. Timothy, we reflect on where it started and how the congregation has deeply rooted itself in creating a long and devoted Catholic faith in the small Midwestern town of Maple Lake, Minnesota. The first St. Timothy Church was built in 1869 on the northeastern side of Maple Lake on what is now County Road 37. The church was built on donated land, had a capacity to hold 60 to 80 people, and was named St. Timothy in honor of the patron saint of Timothy Desmond. In 1870, another Catholic congregation, St. Charles, had formed, located south of Maple Lake on County Road 8. Both churches were growing quickly, as the city of Maple Lake itself was growing and becoming more traveled with the addition of the railroad in the late 1880s. In 1893, the original St. Timothy Church was abandoned, and the altar, organ, statues, and Stations of the Cross were moved to Maple Lake. Then a new church was built on the current site of St. Timothy's Rectory. The church was becoming too small for the growing parish, and additional land to the north of the rectory was purchased. In 1922, groundbreaking of the current St. Timothy Church was underway, and the first Mass in the new church was celebrated on Sunday, December 15, 1923. In 1939, the Church of St. Charles was dismantled and the bell was donated to St. Luke's Church in Clearwater. Both the original St. Timothy and St. Charles churches' locations are now two of the three scenic cemeteries under the Church of St. Timothy, with the third cemetery being located on Highway 55 on the east side of town. On September 4, 1951, the Catholic school construction had been completed and opened its doors under the direction of the Sisters of St. Benedict, with 80 students enrolled in 6 grades. In 1988, a new parish center and rectory was built on the site of the 1839 church. And in 1994, a church annex was built that housed a lift for handicap access to the church and to the Eucharistic Adoration Chapel. What does 100 years of community, devotion, and faith look like? It starts with the strong foundation of the church and is carried on the backs of the many generations of parishioners. Through faith, the Church of St. Timothy and its congregation have continued to keep the Spirit of Christ and the church alive and thriving. The church's well-known architecture and beauty has been the backdrop for not only celebrating Christ for over 100 years, but for celebrating weddings, funerals, and celebratory events, including ones from this unique centennial year.
It's community. Obviously we get the sacraments there, but it's family, it's faith, it's love of the neighbor, it's all these things that St. Timothy's has been able to impart on our family. And so it's been a big part of our life throughout those 40 years. I think it's just so much total involvement of Maple Lake and its parishioners, and it's more than a gathering place, a place for everybody to just be themselves, and the love of God just seems to permeate in the walls of St. Timothy. I don't know if that's architecture or the singing or what. I think it's just an all-encompassing experience that you can get by going to church at St. Timothy's.
I have been a lifelong St. Timothy's parishioner. My dad is a lifelong St. Timothy's parishioner, and then my grandfather and grandmother. So definitely part of the parish community forever. So I definitely think of this community as family. So they're all my family, and it's fun to see new family members join our old family members too. So I really like that. And we've had a lot of influx of new families. So you hear sometimes that it's hard to come into a community, but I feel like St. Timothy's can be welcoming and bring in just, how are you doing, and come join us at whatever events, and you'll fit right in.
One thing I remember as I was coming today, I was thinking about, I've been away for 44 years, but as I came to the building, as I sat in the church, even though I've been away a long time, it felt like home. It felt like coming home. And I was amazed at the detail of the church, which maybe I hadn't seen before because I was 18, 19, and you didn't really look at it that way. But I looked at it through a different lens today, noticing the detail and thinking about the parishioners back then who built it, and thinking about, without the equipment that we have today, what it took for them to build it and their dedication to build it.
Our church is beautiful. It's beautiful. People have been very generous in recent years in the restoration of it, and bringing it back several years ago. The Capital Campaign brought a lot of the interior back to what it was originally, and people that come here, they just they rave about the beauty of our church. And to stop and think about 100 years ago, and the sacrifice that people made, putting in a quarter, putting in $1, putting in 10 cents, skipping a family meal so they'd have extra money to put in to build this beautiful church. People went through great sacrifice back then, and here it is 100 years, and it'll be here another 100 years.
We should be very thankful for the faith, for what they've given us in the building. And I think, like you said, since it's very faith-filled, they have been very generous, and you can see that through the generations with the church building that we have, and even the restoring of it. And yeah, it's beautiful to see that, and it spreads out. It's like the ripple effect, where if you have that as your center, everything else, you have good values and morals and community.
One day, sitting in these pews, a thought came to me that some young men become priests. And then I instantly thought, there's no way I could do that. And that was it for a long time. That's my first memory with, it was just the fear of the stage, going in front of people. Yeah. I was terrified to be an altar server. Yeah, but there was a girl I liked that was becoming an altar server, and they were going to have a party at her house afterwards. So I signed up to be an altar server, and I was terrified. I was just sweating every time I was up there. So God has His ways to get us, into the priesthood.
I think you can see the faith in the people, in how they interact with their fellow community. The dedication of the Adoration Chapel is probably one of the most memorable, just because I think it has helped our community as well, just in bringing people to Jesus and to Christ, because we have the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and He's exposed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It kind of goes back to a program started with Father Juttner, actually right when I just got out of college. They started an initiative to have Eucharistic adoration 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the church proper. Then in the early 90s, Father Juttner wanted to start an adoration chapel, or to build an adoration chapel. And so what we did was we went out and sought some funds to get the project going, and we had a few donors that helped with that. And in 1994, we were able to dedicate the Adoration Chapel, and it's been going ever since. And I think there's just been a tremendous amount of benefits and joys and I'm sure a lot of sorrows, brought into the chapel and that as well. But I think it's brought a lot of graces and that to our community, and I think it's helped make our community a lot stronger as well.
Truly, it's a very, very special place, and I'm blessed to be here as a priest, and been here over 10 years now, and which is, it's been absolutely a wonderful, a gifted time, and you can just see that people's faith and how they prioritize the church and the Eucharist, and there's just this living faith here, and you don't always sadly experience that in other places. And the church here is alive, the parish is alive. Young families are blessed with a wonderful school too, as we all know, and that school has been such a strong support in the midst of everything happening in the world today, but also in the past, just for the children to have this solid foundation for the future and have a solid base of morals, obviously the faith passed on in the midst of developing their God-given gifts, and each person there is treated as the unique child of God they are, and in a culture that sometimes can have a very contrary message to our faith, there's kind of this oasis, this refuge, this shelter for our children in the school and in the parish as well.
The idea when I was a young man, I'm 50 years a priest this year, but when I was studying for the priesthood, the heart of what we did, I came from a little coal mining town in Pennsylvania, the heart of what we did and that we knew was the church. It was our life, our parish church, everything centered around it. And we got to know the people, we knew everyone. My parish was smaller than this, but it had the same kind of it gave me the same kind of experience, that you were here with your family and you're learning each day to know and love God. This church is a gift to the people here, to Father as a priest, and it's a wonderful parish to belong to because it's vibrant. Young and old, they come here and it's like a special moment. They raise their minds and heart to God, they sing here, they have beautiful music, they have servers who just want to be on for serving. All the boys, they're proud of it. As a matter of fact, from this parish, currently we have 5 seminarians preparing to be priests. And that all happened right here because of what they see and how they see people praying and how they see the joy that God brings to us when we stay close to Him. And that's what a parish is for.
The Legacy Foundation was just started basically this year to commemorate our 100-year anniversary as a church building, and it's a way basically for us to pass on that torch. Our ancestors before us, they built this church with great sacrifices, with a vision towards the future of what it would be for the people that would come after them. And they didn't know what the future held. They didn't know what would come, but they knew that they wanted to make sure that they would sacrifice, and they made a lot of sacrifices, as we can imagine, to have this special house of God where people have come for generations now to be nourished by their faith and to encounter Jesus and to grow in their faith.
We set up 2 endowment programs, one for the church and one for the St. Timothy's School. And the idea there is to have a financial backing going forward for the next 100 years. And so these endowments are started out now, and they're growing small, but we're asking people to maybe, if they are thinking of putting St. Timothy's School or church in their will, to actually formalize that a little bit, let us know that that's there. And then also we're looking for any monetary help on the front end to get this endowment going. So that can be in the form of cash or stocks, not only just in your will, but the will is the important part of it there. But we want to get this endowment growing. We figure if we can get it up to $2 million fairly soon, that'd spin off $80,000 to St. Timothy's every year, just in the interest income that's generated through that. So it's going to be a big part, not only of my life at my age, but hopefully going forward, that people will see these endowments as really growing.
If you would like to contribute to this program or would like to learn more about the endowments, please contact the parish office by phone or email. As we look back on 100 years with the Church of St. Timothy, it is clear the faith of Christ is strong and thriving in this community. It has been 100 years of strength and devotion through world wars, pandemics, and economic hardships. Yet the light of Christ burns bright and will continue for many years to come.
Growing up as in this parish as a young child, you sometimes take for granted just the majesty of what this church is. And then as you get older, you find out how magnificent just our church is. And then you find out that a church is more than just the building, it's the people. And you find out we have a magnificent church dedicated to our Lord, and we also have wonderful people that have this family with their dedication to the Lord. And that in and of itself is just what this Centennial is about and why we want to celebrate it and come join us and celebrate this. We've been able to thrive for so many years, and that's unique and fun. And just come celebrate us in this beautiful building. Come celebrate with this wonderful family.
Congratulations to St. Timothy's Catholic Church for 100 years.
Congratulations to all the parishioners here at St. Timothy's Church and for all the families that helped build the structure itself. We have a beautiful church. You know, I look at the churches around us in other cities, and I think about our forefathers and how they decided to build such a huge church in Maple Lake. But again, we have a strong, vibrant community for the faith, and we have a beautiful place to go worship Jesus.
Happy 100th birthday to St. Timothy's Church. It's absolutely beautiful church and a beautiful parish, and we're blessed to be part of it.
Very much so. We have very much gratitude.
I'd like to congratulate the St. Timothy's Parish on their celebrating of their centennial, and I provide blessings to as you move into the future.
We'll pray for all of the people that this celebratory moment will be a time of great joy, because it'll show the church coming alive in the times that are the most difficult, perhaps, in the life of our church. There's a vibrancy and a love here that's contagious. So I wish them well, and as they say in Rome, ad multos annos, for many more years.